We're all told that AI assistants are going to make us faster, smarter, more productive. But what if that productivity comes at a price? A fascinating new research paper by Judy Shen and Alex Tamkin asks a really important question. When AI helps us get our work done, does it actually stop us from learning how to do it ourselves? This new research puts that question to the test. Or, to put it another way, is the very tool you're using to get ahead actually holding you back in the long run? See, these researchers wanted to look past all the hype about getting things done faster and figure out what's really happening to our skills. Look, we're all trying to be more efficient, and AI feels like the ultimate shortcut, right? But there's this growing concern among researchers about what happens when we start to rely a little too heavily on our tools. It's a concept called cognitive offloading. It's kind of like how none of us memorize phone numbers anymore because our phone does it for us. The big worry is that the exact same thing could happen with our critical, professional skills. We offload the hard thinking to the AI, and our own mental muscles just get weaker. So how do you even test an idea like that? Well, the researchers didn't just send out a survey. Nope. They designed a really clever, hands-on experiment to see how skills are formed or not formed in a real-world kind of situation. Here's what they did. They brought in 52 experienced software developers and gave them a challenge they face all the time. Learn a brand new tool, in this case, a programming library called Trio, and use it to solve a coding problem. It's the perfect stand-in for learning a new skill on the job. Then they randomly split them into two groups. Group 1, the control group, had to figure it all out the old-school way, just them and the documentation. But Group 2, they got a powerful AI coding assistant ready to answer any question and even write code for them. Now, here is the absolute genius of this experiment. After 35 minutes, they took the AI away from everybody. Then, both groups had to take the exact same quiz to test how well they actually understood the new library. This quiz was the moment of truth. It wasn't about finishing the task, it was about what they truly learned. All right, so the stage is set. The experiment is done. What did they find? Well, the results were not at all what you might expect. Let's start with the most obvious question, right? Who finished faster? I mean, the whole point of AI assistance is to boost productivity. So the AI group must have blown the other group out of the water. Well, not exactly. In fact, it was basically a tie. There was no real statistical difference in how long it took. It turns out some users spent so much time trying to get the perfect prompt or just chatting with the AI that it completely ate up any time they might have saved. Okay, so speed wasn't the big story here. But that brings us back to the real reason for this whole study. Who actually learned something? Who walked away with a new skill? And this is where the results get dramatic. The group that worked without the AI, they scored way higher on the quiz. They had a much deeper understanding of the new library they were supposed to be learning. Let's put a number on that. The group using the AI assistant scored a whopping 17% lower on the knowledge test. That is a massive learning deficit. It seems the shortcut to getting the task done was also a shortcut that bypassed their brains entirely. So the big question is, why? To understand this huge learning gap, the researchers basically became detectives. They went back and watched every single screen recording from the AI group to see what was really going on. And what they found was fascinating. Not everyone used the AI the same way. They identified 6 totally distinct patterns, you could almost call them user personas, and the results were all over the place. Quiz scores ranged from a pretty terrible 24% all the way up to an awesome 86%. You can really boil these 6 styles down into 2 basic approaches. On one side, you had cognitive offloading. These folks just handed the thinking over to the AI. They asked it for the answer, they asked it to fix every little bug, and they just copied and pasted it. Their quiz scores? Terrible. But on the other side, you had cognitive engagement. These users stayed in the driver's seat. They asked the AI for concepts. They had it generate code and then asked, hey, why does this work? And they tried to solve problems on their own first. And their learning was just fine. This quote from the paper just nails it. The people who learned the most didn't avoid the hard work. They used the AI to help them focus their own mental effort more effectively. They stayed in charge of the learning process. So what does this all mean for you and me? How can we use these insights to actually become smarter learners in this new age of AI? Well, the research basically gives us a playbook, built from the habits of the people who scored the highest. First, always try to solve the problem yourself before you turn to AI. Let yourself struggle a little. That's literally where learning happens. Second, ask the AI for concepts, not just code. Third, if you do have it write code, your very next question should be, explain this to me. And finally, when you get an error, don't just immediately hand it over to the AI. Treat it as a puzzle to solve yourself first. So look, the big message here is not AI is bad for learning, run away. Not at all. It's that how we use it makes all the difference. The goal is to be intentional, to shift from being a passive delegator to being an active, engaged partner with your AI tools. In the end, AI is just a tool, like a calculator or GPS. It can be a crutch that makes you weaker, or it can be a lever that makes you stronger. And as this research really drives home, that choice is entirely up to you.